Alright, so this is a lesson on factoring the trinomial ax squared plus bx plus c. Alright, we can write some trinomials of the form ax squared plus bx plus c as the product of two binomials. Not all trinomials can be factored this way, but for this lesson we're going to focus on the ones that can be factored this way. Alright, so the first thing I want to do in looking at example 1 is I want to identify what a, b, and c are. So a is 8, B is 22, and C is 15. Okay, we're going to use what's called the AC method. Okay, so we're going to take and we're going to multiply A times C, which would be 8 times 15, which would be 120. So then we're going to look at the factors of 120, and we're going to look at the sum of those factors. All right. And I know that when I look at this, I'm looking for the sum that would give me 22. Okay, so I want the factors that are going to give me 22. So I'm going to ignore 1 and 20, 2 and 60, things like that. I'm going to start at 3 and 40. That gives me 43. 4 and 30. 4 and 30. Let's just erase that. 4 and 30 would give me 34, 5, and let's see, 5 and 24 would give me 29, 6 and 20 would give me 26, got 8 and...
So there were,
Alright, so we're going to do 8 times 15, that would be 23. And then we would have 10 times 12, which would give us 22. All right, so those are the factors that we're going to use. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use something that we did for multiplying. Okay, I'm going to use the box method. Right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the information on the inside this time. So I'd have 8x squared there, 15 there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 10x and 12x, okay? And that comes from that information right there, the 10 and the 12. Doesn't matter which place you put it in, the 10 and the 12. All right, we could have switched it and put 10x in the top right and 12x in the bottom left. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work backwards. Okay, so I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, okay, what is the greatest common factor between 8x squared and 12x? So that would be 4x, okay? Then I do the same thing at the bottom, 10x and 15. Greatest common factor would be 5. Then I go the other way, and I look this way. Say, what is the greatest common factor there? That would be 2x. Greatest common factor this way, 12x and 15. That would be 3. Okay. So then I write that as the product of two binomials. So the factored form would be 4x plus 5, and 2x plus 3. Okay. And I could check that by using the FOIL method. If I do that real quick, 4 times 2 gives me 8x squared. 4x times 3 is 12x, plus 5 times 2 is 10, so 10x plus 12x is 22x. And then the 5 times 3, the last term, does give me 15. All right, looking at example 2, we're going to do the same thing. So we do a times c. All right, so a times c this time is 18 times negative 10, which is negative 180. Right, so we're looking for the factors of negative 180. I look at the middle term. I know it's 3, so I want a sum of 3. Okay. So I know since it's positive that the larger absolute value has to be positive. So I'm going to start out with something like, say, 60 times negative 3. I know that's 57. We could do, let's see, 30 and negative 6 would give me 24. We could do 18. And negative 10 gives me 8. Then we could do 12, do 15 times negative 12, which would be 3. Okay, So that's what gives me the 3. So those are the factors that I'm going to use. Okay, again, I set up the box. Alright, inside my box, top left, I'm going to put 18x squared. Bottom right, I'm going to put that minus 10. In the other two boxes, I'm going to put 15x, and I'll put negative 12x. So then we factor out 18x squared and 15x, that would be 3x. Negative 12 and negative 10, since they're both negative, I'm going to go ahead and factor out a negative, and I'm going to factor out negative 2. Going this way, 18x squared and 12x, we're going to factor out 6x. And then 15 and negative 10, and I would factor out a 5. So the answer in factored form would be 3x minus 2, 6x plus 5. Alright, so in example 3, we're going to take and multiply a times c. A is 18, b is negative 3, c is negative 120. But before we can do that, we actually have to factor out the greatest common factor. So the greatest common factor between these is going to be 3x. So we're going to have 6x squared minus x minus 40 left. So now, instead, a would be 6, b would be negative 1, and c would be negative 40. So if we do a times c, it's negative 240. So we're going to look for the factors of negative 240 that have a sum of negative 1. So we start out looking close together. It would be negative 38, negative 20, and 12. Let's see. Negative 24 and 10. And we also have negative 16 times 15. So if we look at the sums, that would be negative 22, negative 8, negative 14, and that one would be negative 1. So we're going to use the ones that give us a sum of negative 1. So our box. Inside the box, alright, remember, since we factored out the GCF, we'll be using that there, that trinomial, so we put 6x squared, put negative 40, and then in the other two boxes, we're going to put negative 16x, positive 15x. Then we're going to look for the GCF of 6x squared and 15x, and it would be 3x. The same thing underneath, negative 16x and negative 40. GCF would be negative 8. When we look the other way, 6x squared and negative 16x would be 2x. And then 15x and negative 40, the GCF would be 5. So if we write the factored form, don't forget to bring down your 3x. Then we would have 3x minus 8 and 2x plus 5. If we want to check that, all we have to do is plug. Alright, in example 4, we've got the area of a rectangle being 8x squared minus 14x minus 15. So we're going to do A is 8. B is negative 14, C is negative 15. So again, we do A times C, which is 8 times negative 15, which is negative 120. So just like the first problem, we're looking for 120, but this time it's negative. So, and we want our sum to be negative 14. So we're looking for the larger negative values. So negative 15 and 8 would be negative 7. negative 20, and 6 would be negative 14. So as soon as we get negative 14, we can stop looking. Draw the box. And put the information in the box. 8x squared will go in the top left. Negative 15, bottom right. And then we're going to put negative 20x and 6x. And then we're just going to factor out, get the greatest common factor. Top left will be 2x. Underneath that, we would have negative 5. Go the other direction with 8x squared and negative 20x. That would be 4x. And 6x and negative 15 will be 3. So in factored form, it will be 2x minus 5 and 4x plus 3. And again, we could FOIL to check that. And the question is, how would this problem change if it were a triangle instead? Right, so this is length and width. And again, we could switch those. It doesn't matter which one the length or the width is. So how would it change if it were a triangle? Be ready to discuss that tomorrow.